Welcome to day 3 of the Stress Less 5-day free challenge. So I'm really excited about today because today's all about the mindfulness, and what that means is how we think about things, how we feel about things will ultimately determine what we create. Like I said the other day, stress is an internal thing. We are all unique in how we handle and cope with our stress. As I said, some people might lash out, get really irritable. Hopefully by now you're more aware of the kind of personality that you step into when you're stressed. Because when you're aware of that, then you can start to change it. But if you've got no awareness, you can't change anything. So part of this is paying attention. Well, how do I actually behave when I'm stressed? What are some of the thoughts that I think when I'm stressed? Do I go into all or nothing thinking? Do I catastrophize in my thinking? Do I go into black and white thinking? It's either that or that, and there's no grey. So our style of thinking can influence how we feel about what's going on in our world. So when we're stressed, as I said, it's an internal thing, because what one person stresses over, another person may not. Right? Being able to pivot quickly in situations also helps to alleviate the stress. Stress gets compounded. So the more that we worry about things, the more that we think about things, the more we ruminate on problems, the more we worry about them, the more we get anxious about them, the more we start to stress about them, and all of a sudden we're right up here. So we want to be able to bring that down. Now, breathing, as I said, is a really cool tool. So, hopefully you've been practicing it and you're noticing a difference. The other thing is being aware of your body. So noticing the tension. Now, if you're keen to get my tension releasing technique in a PDF, just comment muscle below or tension and I'll get that off to you. But basically, it's just tensioning your muscles and relaxing and retraining your brain to recognize what it actually feels like, your muscle to feel relaxed. Because we can get so used to our muscles being tense that we actually think it's normal. And then we just can compound onto that. So being able to actually learn and re-educate yourself on what a relaxed muscle feels like, then that's going to help you feel a lot better in being able to mitigate the stress as it starts. Because like I said, it generates through the body. That's your indicator. Everything that happens, so whatever the cause is, the effects on you will be in your body. It'll be in your emotions. It'll be in your feelings. So we want to be aware of, okay, when I start feeling it, then I need to find what the cause is. What's causing it? Now, some of the ways that we can do that is we can start paying attention to our words, our thoughts. How we think about things will determine on how we look at stuff. So if we have, like I said, all or nothing thinking or catastrophizing thinking patterns or black and white thinking patterns, there are a number of different styles that will generate particular types of thoughts. Now, we have thoughts like, I can't do this, I can't cope, it's never ending, I'm never going to get through this is all too hard, I'm so overwhelmed. We actually end up creating more of it because we perpetuate the problem. Because we're not actually looking for a solution. What we're doing is we're talking about what the problem is and how we're feeling in it. So we want to be mindful of our language. What are the words that you're using? Are you using words of, I can't, it's too hard, I'll try? Now that one's an interesting one, because when we use the one I try or I'll try, what you're kind of saying to yourself is, give it a go, but I'm going to leave that back door open, and that can be my reason why it didn't work. So we want to be mindful of the way the words compound us or how they feel in us and what they do in our external. The other one that a lot of people use is I should. Now, the problem with I should is it puts a massive expectation and pressure on yourself. I should have worked on my business over the weekend instead of helping a friend move, for example. I should have got all those dishes done before I went to bed. or I should be doing X, Y, Z, but I'm not. And so when we're going, I should, we are putting that immense pressure on ourselves. And then that just makes us feel even worse. It adds more to our stress levels if we're using language of I should, I should, I should. So by being able to determine, listening and understanding what are the words you're using, what are some of the go-to phrases that you have? Because those go-to phrases, you're saying them on repeat. Now here's the thing, if you're saying it out loud, you've actually said it about 10 times in your head first. What we think becomes. So the more we speak about something, the more particular language we use, that is what we end up creating. Your thoughts become your reality. So if we think life sucks, life's hard, nothing ever goes my way, that is what we're going to see. And the reason we're going to see that is because there's a part of our brain called the reticular activator system. You can look it up. In my summary, the best way I explain it is it's like a highlighter. It kind of highlights the stuff going on in your world that you've got your attention on. So if you've got your attention on debt, it's going to highlight more debt. If you've got your attention on your health, being poor, or you're not eating properly, or you're drinking too much, or you're smoking, or you're doing any of those things, then you're going to see more of that. If you think that everyone's against you, you're going to see that kind of behavior. So we really want to be able to look at, what am I thinking? What am I saying to myself out loud to conversations with people? And what am I saying internal? Because that needs to shift in order for us to take the pressure off ourselves. So language is a really important part of the de-stressing, learning how to feel differently, and learning how to unpack what's creating you stress. Because if you're, like I said, if you're using words of I should, that's putting pressure. To reframe it, pay attention, spend the next few days listening to the way you talk. And if you're going, you should be doing this, or I should have done that, I want you to change it to could. I could have done the dishes, but I didn't. And that's okay. So we want to be, paying attention to language. The other thing is part of that language is our thought pattern. So understanding what are the tonalities that we use in our wording. What is my thinking more positive or negative? Now, statistics say that up to 76% of our thoughts are generally negative. Now, that's because we are influenced by negativity in our world. The news is negative, people talk negative, everything's kind of pivoting into, doom and gloom and, lack and scarcity. So when we can learn to look at what we're thinking and the way we're thinking and pivot that to be a little bit more positive, it does take work. It does take concentration and awareness. But there is a way we can do it. So when we're thinking in a negative way, one, we need to be aware of it, because you can't change what you don't know. So number one, being aware of what your negative thinkings are. As I said, up to 76% of people generally think negative. We have anywhere between 50,000 and 100,000 thoughts a day. If there's 76% possibly more negative, can you see where you taking charge of them and deliberately changing them to be a lot more positive is going to be more of a benefit to you than just ignoring them completely? Because even though you may be ignoring them, they're still influencing you. They're still creating that stress. So paying attention is going to help that. The best way to do it is you can only have one thought at a time. That's it. Now that thought can lead to another thought, that can lead to another thought, and all of a sudden you're in a paragraph, and then you're in a story, and you're kind of sucked right up into it. But if you can pull it back and go, okay, what did I just think? What was the thought I just had? What did I just say to myself about X, Y, Z? And start listening to the language, the tonalities, how you're talking to yourself, the thought patterns that you've got going, and then you want to start to pivot them. So once you put the spotlight on a particular thought, you want to change that thought. Now, it's not about ignoring the negative thought, because what you resist persists. So the more you think, I'm not going to think negative, I'm not going to think negative, you're going to bring all that negative. It's being able to go, I just noticed the negative thought, and I'm now going to deliberately think something different. Now, my little trick to this is I have about 5 different topics that bring me joy. You know, my kids are one, the beach is another, and I like flowers. So when I think of flowers, they just automatically make me feel good. So whatever, it might be an animal for you, or it might be a hobby, or it might be a place or a memory. But whatever it is, it's got to be something that you can remember and you can think about, because what you're going to do is you're changing the pathway. So you're going to change the pathway from a negative thought to a positive thought. When we do that, what then happens is we start to shift how we feel. Because I could say now, think of something you don't like. Put your own attention on something you don't like. Notice how all of a sudden you kind of don't feel great. Now put your attention on something you really do like. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a thing, maybe it's a holiday. And how do you feel now? A lot different. So paying attention to what you're thinking will also help reduce that stress down. Now, this is where affirmations come in. Now, affirmations, look, they have their purpose. Do they always work? No. And there's a reason why. And the reason why they don't always work is because if you've already got a counter decision in you that you've had way back when, that first decision you made or that first thing you said is going to be the driving force until you get rid of it. But we can change the way we look at things by changing our dialogue. Now, affirmations are I am statements. And what they're doing is they're helping you feel more positive and changing the negative to a positive. So I always suggest I am on the way to feeling ABC. So if you kind of want to feel more happier, I'm on the way to feeling happier. Now what that does is it kind of bypasses the resistance of, well, I don't feel happy and I'm trying to tell myself I am happy. It just kind of, it's a softer way of going. I am on the way to making more money. I am on the way to improving my life. I am on the way to living healthier. So these are just some examples. So being able to start talking to yourself in a more positive way, the I am, that's going to help you also in influencing the thought patterns that have been there for a very long time. The other thing is that we want to look at is the worry. So one of the high contributors to stress is worry. Now, worry creates anxiety because worrying is all about the future. Anxiety is future-based. Depression is past-based. Anxiety is future-based. Peace is living in the moment, the now, this time. And this is all we have. So when we're worrying and we're getting anxious, that's because we're projecting onto the problems. But the thing is, we tend to hold the problems in our head. And the reason we hold on to them is because we're not coming up with a solution. So our subconscious kind of goes, well, I can't let this go because I don't know what we're doing about it. So we keep it. Now, when we've got like 10 or 15 different things going on in our life, can you then see how you can be like really stepping into anxiety and how that then can contribute to your stress levels? So going, okay, what can I do? How can I change that worry? So there's 4 steps to that. The first thing is grab a pen and pad, right? Make it your worry pad and get into the habit every day of writing down all the things you think are problems in your life. All of them, big or small. What will happen is as you write them all out, and you might have 10, 15, 20, I don't know, you might have a few. As you write them out, when you read back over them, you might see some that goes, oh my goodness, I don't need to worry about that. And we cross it out. And there might be others as you read through that go, you know what, there is nothing I can do about that right now. An example of that is, let's say you've just sat an exam and your exam paper is in with the marker. Is there anything you can do about the results of that exam right now? No, you can't. So worrying about what the result's going to be in this moment is such a waste of time and energy. So it's about going, you know what, there's nothing I can do about it right now. I just need to let it go. When that exam paper comes back, if it's not the grade that I wanted, that's when I can do something different, or I can then look at what can I do about it. So going back to that list, you're going to cross off the ones that you don't need to worry about. You're going to put on another page the ones that you can't do anything about right now. And that will leave you with, I don't know, anywhere between 5 or 10, depending how big your list was. Then you want to go to the most pressing one, the one that's probably occupying most of your thoughts, and write it out on another piece of paper. And then you're going to do what we call solution dump or a brain dump. So you're going to come up with as many ideas and solutions as you possibly can for that. Now, the way we do that is we open up the floodgates. We just open up. We don't squash any idea, no matter how ludicrous it might be. Because the more that we can open up the possibilities, what ends up happening is our creativity starts to flow, and we start coming up with really good ideas of, oh, how can I actually fix this problem? So the idea is to come up between around 10. Now, sometimes that can be really hard. So you want to aim for 5 at the least, but between 5 and 10 solutions to a problem. Now, those solutions can be way out there. They can be wacky. They can, it doesn't matter. What matters is you're writing them up, the solutions down. Once you've got it all brain dumped and you can't think of any others to deal with that particular problem, you're then going to you're going to look at them and pick the top 3, and you're going to or put them in order. And then you're going to take the number 1 and apply it, which means you're going to do that action in order to help that problem. Now, usually it takes 2 to 3 weeks. What people tend to do is they have the problem, they try something out, they give it a couple of days, oh, that didn't work, and they give up. The thing is, you didn't give it enough time. Depending, obviously, on the problem, if it's an urgent problem that needs action and closure within a bit of time, then okay. But if there's something like I want to lose weight, for example, so I'm going to eat healthier. Now, eating healthy for about 3 days or a week is really not going to change much on the scales. So you want to be able to put it into place for about 2 to 3 weeks. If after that period of time, it hasn't changed the problem, then you go to solution 2 and you apply that one. And you just keep doing those few steps until that problem's solved. Then you move on to the next one. So I do have a worksheet that you can follow in how to do this worry, what I call the worry pad sheet. It helps you unpack. If you get into the habit of unpacking all your worries every single day, you're not going to be waking up in the night stressing and worrying about things, because you're teaching your subconscious that, you know what, I don't need to keep that in my head because I've actually written it down and I know I'm going to address that. So it's a new habit to form. So my suggestion is you make the decision to do it, and then just do it. 21 days to make or break any habit. You want to create a new habit of brain dumping. What you'll end up doing is you'll be getting to a point where you actually won't need to write them all down. You will be able to, on the smaller ones, oh, that's the problem, here's the solution. You'll be able to do it really, really quickly. But while you're learning and training your brain how to work effectively for you, you've got to put the work in. Your brain is like a puppy. It hasn't been trained. So you want to train it with doing the right steps that are going to benefit you, as opposed to what it's currently doing, which is opposing you, going against you. They do say we are our own worst enemies, and this is why. So if you would like that worry, comment worry below and we will get that off to you. So by now, you should be aware of avoidable and unavoidable stress. So you should be writing out your list of what are the things I can avoid and what are the things that bring me stress that are unavoidable. You can't change what you don't know. So if you can be aware of what are your stresses in life, what are the things that are creating your stress, then you can start to do something about it. But if you're not aware of what they are, you're just going to be constantly under stress. And you might be putting yourself in a situation that's causing stress and you don't even know it. So pay attention to that. So in summary, what we've done over the last few days is we understand the psychology and the physiology causes of stress and how it impacts us. We now know that breathing and paying attention to our body through learning how to relax our muscles is going to also help bring that stress level down. And being able to pay attention to our thoughts, the language that we're using, how we change all that is also going to help you. Now, I do have a short video on how to pay attention to your thoughts. So if you would like that as a bonus, comment thought below and I will get that to you as well, because these are just little tips and tricks that are going to help you when you implement them on a daily basis, really going to help you stay in charge and start feeling like you're coping better with the stresses of your life. But the number one thing is you got to know what's causing the stress in the first place. You got to be paying attention to what's going on, not just within your body, but within your world as well. And then once you've got a clear idea of what your stresses are, going through and taking out the ones that you can avoid, but then looking at how do I talk to myself about the things that I can't avoid? Like, for example, maybe your work causes you stress. So you can't really do anything because you need the job. So it's like, okay, how can I change what I say about my work? If we're going to work going, I hate my job. Oh my gosh, my boss is such an ass. It's so stressful. I never can do anything right, blah, 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 blah. What ends up happening is you go into work already feeling, ugh. And then that just kind of, the reticular activator system kicks in and you start finding these things that will back up what you're saying to yourself. So you want to be able to go, okay, how can I pivot those thoughts? I'm super grateful I've got a job. I'm really grateful for the income that I get because it allows me to pay for XYZ. If there's one person at work that you like, I really enjoy spending time with such and such. She's a great person to work with. Now, here's where you can then add to it with an affirmation is you can also change it is, I have a really great place that I work in. Now, what ends up happening is because you say that, it'll eventually start to show that. This is how it works. What we think becomes. So these are some of the tips and tricks so far. I really love sharing them with you. As I said, if you want the worry, comment below. If you want my muscle technique, if you're not really sure how to do it, comment muscle tension below. And I think there was one other thing. What was it? Oh, and the worry pad. We'll actually probably just get that worry pad out to you in the email because I think it's kind of really, really important that you receive that. So that will come out in the email wrapping up today. But if you want those extra 2 bonuses, comment them below and we will definitely get them to you. But I hope that really helped. I enjoyed sharing this with you. Please comment what you think. What are your biggest takeaways? What are how are you feeling about your life? Where's your biggest stressor? If you comment below, where's your biggest stressor? I can tell you now, right now, my biggest stressor is trying to find the balance between my family and my business. But we're getting there. So unpacking it, changing how we think about it, looking at things from a slightly different angle will absolutely help shift you out of that fight or flight response and bring you back down into this calm homeostasis response, which is where we want to be. So, like I said, comment below, share what you know, what you share, what you've learned, and I look forward to hearing and reading it.